One of our great commander-in-chiefs once said, "The men of Normandy had faith that what they were doing was right, faith that they fought for all humanity, faith that a just God would grant them mercy on this beachhead or the next. It was the deep knowledge, and pray God we have not lost it, that there is a profound moral difference between the use of force for liberation and the use of force for conquest." The commander-in-chief, the president who said this, was Ronald Reagan. And today I'm going to show you guys why I believe he is a saint. In his eyes, soldiers are not just tokens of war or chess pieces on a board. To him, he realizes that each and every one of them is a person, has their own hopes and dreams and aspirations ahead of them, and some of them had their lives cut short defending our country. And I feel that in order to be a saint, you have to value each and every life that you come in contact with, and Ronald Reagan did that.
We see these soldiers in our mind as old and wise. We see them as something like the founding fathers, grave and gray-haired. But most of them were boys when they died, and they gave up two lives, the one they were living and the one they would have lived. When they died, they gave up their chance to be husbands and fathers and grandfathers. They gave up their chance to be revered old men. They gave up everything for our country, for us. And all we can do is remember.
Love and compassion are two very strong emotions in which it takes a special person to express well. And I feel that in this last clip that you just saw, Ronald Reagan expressed both love and compassion for men that he had never met. And everyone or anyone on the street can praise a soldier and thank them for what they've done and their sacrifices, but it takes a very special person to stand up in front of millions of people and give such a heartfelt eulogy almost for hundreds of people that they've never met. And I feel like this is a very saintly quality that Ronald Reagan has embodied and showed through that last clip. In today's world and in recent history, expressing your faith or sharing your religious beliefs has become sort of taboo, especially on the national stage. And in the last half of this clip that I'll show you, Ronald Reagan uses a story of a soldier who prayed before storming Normandy and freely talks about those going to Arlington National Cemetery or wherever their loved soldiers are buried to pray and comfort themselves through their faith. I feel like this is a very refreshing quality to the speech, regardless of your beliefs, because it shows that he's humbled and he has his own way of comforting himself in the loss of soldiers as their loved ones do.
There's always someone who is remembering for us. No matter what time of year it is or what time of day, there are always people who come to this cemetery, leave a flag or a flower or a little rock on a headstone, and they stop and bow their heads and communicate what they wished to communicate. I think sometimes of General Matthew Ridgway, who the night before D-Day tossed sleepless on his cot and talked to the Lord and listened for the promise that God made to Joshua, "I will not fail thee nor forsake thee." We are surrounded today by the dead of our wars. We owe them a debt we can never repay. All we can do is remember them and what they did and why they had to be brave for us. All we can do is try to see that other young men never have to join them. Today, as never before, we must pledge to remember the things that will continue the peace. Today, as never before, we must pray for God's help in broadening and deepening the peace we enjoy Let us pray for freedom and justice and a more stable world. And let us make a compact today with the dead, a promise in the words for which General Ridgway listened: I will not fail thee nor forsake thee.
As a commander-in-chief, Ronald Reagan to me is saintly for his compassion and understanding of what our troops go through. Some presidents in the past have seen them as just cards in a deck or pawns on a chess table, but Ronald Reagan realizes that they're humans and they have lives ahead of them, and they've made the ultimate sacrifice and will continue to make the ultimate sacrifice so that we don't have to sacrifice anything in our daily lives. And in my mind, that's a very admirable quality and a very respectable train of thought. And that's why I think Ronald Reagan should be seen as a saint for his compassion and care for those who serve.